Hey folks, Simon here. If you're new, welcome, and if you're a regular visitor, thank you. Your support is really appreciated. Righty, this week I'm taking a deeper dive into training for master cyclists and why you should be thinking about energy systems and muscle recruitment, not just riding your bike. Now, I did a short podcast on this and I filmed it and put it on the YouTube channel, but a lot of you seemed to be a bit confused in the fact that there wasn't much to it and they were asking me more questions about training. So this is a more in-depth video about what I was talking about in the podcast with a lot more bolted on. I'll try and keep the word salad to a minimum.
Do I have something in my teeth?
I'm gonna have to set the scene first to give this video structure, so let's get into it. The core focus for the cyclist I coach is to fight back at the physical aging process that happens to us all if we don't focus on this specifically in our training. So I've talked about this a lot. We know that as we age, we lose strength, muscle quality, VO2, lactate threshold, and unless we work at it, it's really hard to hold on to this. So with the cyclists I coach who want to get faster in a bunch and up hills, look and stay stronger, this is what I get them to work on. Cycling fitness is not just about aerobic building, it's about working on all energy systems while improving muscular strength and muscle unit recruitment. You want to increase your VO2 to raise your aerobic ceiling, increase lactate threshold and lactate clearance so that you can ride at higher intensities for longer without fatiguing. And yeah, you want to develop an aerobic engine so you can go faster for less effort and conserve energy. One thing that's for sure is that older cyclists who stay strong and fast up hills are not just riding their bikes endlessly in aerobic capacity. They are being way more focused and specific with their training. Scene set and hopefully not too much word salad. Let's talk about intensity training and working energy systems. VO2 training sessions increase the amount of oxygen you can get to the working muscles. And I believe as an older cyclist, we need to train this more specifically than once a year. I've talked about why and how I do these and given good examples of some of the sessions that I've done. And what I'll do is I'll put a slide to take you to that video at the end of this. Okay, so let's talk about lactate threshold sessions and improving lactate clearance. When you improve your lactate threshold, it means you can ride harder for longer and be able to withstand that pain that you feel riding at threshold. Sweet spot sessions at 84% to 97% of FTP are great training sessions that help improve your lactate threshold and VO2. The great thing about sweet spot is it's not super tough, which means that you can complete a few sessions fairly evenly spaced apart each week to grow your fitness quickly. Here's a good example. Start at the lower range of intensity for multiple sets of 8 minutes on, 4 minutes off, and repeat times 3. And then you just progress your time at sweet spot out, and as you get fitter, you can push the intensity up. To give you an idea of progression over a 6 to 8 week block, you should be able to get to a point where you're able to hold sweet spot for a good amount of time, so 20 minutes with 4 minutes off and 20 minutes at the higher end of that sweet spot range. Just over and under threshold sessions are a great session to help improve your ability to clear lactate. These are tough at 103% to 105% on the over and 80 to 90% on the under. A good starting session is 1 minute over, 1 minute under times 4 with 4 minutes recovery in between. When you want to progress these, I would do this by time. So instead of 60 seconds, do 75 seconds on, 75 seconds off, times 4. And when you feel comfortable doing that, do it 90 seconds on, 90 seconds off, times 4 blocks. Trust me, those are tough. A note on cadence for both the sweet spot and the under and overs. You just don't want to turn that into a horrible grinding low cadence talk session. So keep the cadence around about 90 to 100 RPM. Short hard VO2 efforts into tempo also help improve lactate clearance and your mental ability to deal with really hard efforts. A great starting session is 3 blocks of 30 seconds at 125% of FTP into 3 minutes tempo times 3 with a 5-minute easy recovery in between. Now, because under and overs and the VO2 into tempo sessions are pretty hard physically and mentally, I'd only do one of these sessions per week and then choose your other session, which is less full on in intensity, to focus on what you need to bring up and work on within your training. As an example, you could do a set of under and overs on a Monday, give yourself 3 to 4 clear, easy days of riding for good recovery, and then you could go in and do a longer hill rep session around about high tempo to threshold, so 3 times 8 minutes, and really work on the aspect of building your hill climbing fitness. It's not just strength training that improves your function and all-out motor unit recruitment of your muscles. Adding short, hard efforts improves the quality and function of these too. These types of sessions are all about short, hard bursts of power, like really, really hard, and then pulling right back to allow maximum recovery. And that way you're going to get super quality of each hard effort. Let's talk tempo training, or as other people call it, the grey zone.
You shall not pass!
Tempo training can be used to increase a cyclist's aerobic ceiling by turning the intermediate muscle fibers into more aerobic powerhouses, which can improve your average paces over time and help you conserve energy over greater distances. Sometimes if a cyclist is short on time and they've only got a short amount of time to do a longer aerobic ride, so let's say 3 hours, I get them to do tempo at the end of their aerobic ride. And when you look at the understanding of tempo training and where to place intensity, general thought process is to always do your easier riding at the start and then do your intensity at the end. And that's how I like to place the tempo riding. That way, the tempo riding is augmenting the aerobic riding and you're getting the best of both training adaptations. Just be mindful of how much tempo training you add into an aerobic ride if you're short on time, because the tempo aspect of it definitely pushes up the fatigue levels of your training. I want to talk a bit about planning your intensity. My way of thinking is a couple of harder sessions a week, evenly spaced apart, with the focus on the recovery and your aerobic sessions in between, is helping bring down the fatigue in between your tougher sessions, which means your tougher sessions should be really good quality. The biggest mistake I see cyclists make, young and old, is to push too hard on their easier sessions, which increases that muscular fatigue, which again increases the intensity and it affects the quality of training sessions. I know I've said that back to back, but I think it's really important to get this across. Way too many cyclists push way too hard when they should be pulling back and allowing that recovery and the aerobic training adaptation to build their fitness. Here's something that might help you understand this better. As master cyclists, we recover to the same level as our younger counterparts. It can take us at least 24 to 48 hours after a hard training session to do that, whereas our younger counterparts can bounce back pretty quick. When you understand this, then you realize that you need to place your intensity quite far apart, because your recovery is where the magic happens. Here's a thought for you. What that might mean is that a normal 7-day intensity split, which pretty much everybody follows, might need to be a 10-day split, which means that you need to do intensity, wait 4 to 5 days for the recovery to happen, do intensity, and roll it around that way. Let's wrap this video up. Just riding your bike is extremely one-dimensional in my book for your speed, power, and fitness. If you want to be faster, you need to work all your energy systems. You need to think about working muscle fiber recruitment, strength, and keep working at it. Because as I keep saying to people, if you don't train it, you lose it. And, it can happen quite quickly if you're not careful. In the next video, I'm going to talk about nutrition and why it's not all about protein and why insulin really is not the bogeyman for master cyclists or even weight loss. That's it for this video. Do me a favor, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you've got any questions or you want to chat about more training, stick it in the comments box below. And hey, look, if you think this video will help anybody else, share this with them because it helps get these videos further out and keeps the channel growing. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon.